We turn left and right for the first time in 2010-2011 with Race 7, the Business Council of New York State's Shootout at the Glen, held at night for the first time. Gibson McAllister was fined $5,000 by his McCurley Enterprises team for what transpired in the first corner of the pre-qualifying race, and 6 members of the team ended up fired. That totally overshadowed what happened in the pre-Q race, and a lot of those on this list are not a big surprise. Great end to the qualifying race. Chris Winter passing both Brendan Rohde and Mike Falls on the outside of the final 2 corners to capture the victory. Falls having a strong showing this weekend. Yes, Tyson Lautenschlager did try to attempt this race. You will see Lautenschlager's name either on the D&Q list or somewhere in the race order at Mosport in Montreal and maybe other venues to be announced. A lot of big names not qualifying for this one. You've seen C.J. Long and Randy Robinson. Larry Dimmick not getting in. Eli Labatt's no longer a surprise. Antonio Mihailov, after scoring his first points at Salem, doesn't get in. Sean Percy's quite a big surprise to not get in the big show. Dave Bloomers Jr., Chuck's father, trying to make the race. He broke his ribs in that pre-qualifying race crash. Ron Mertz again not getting in. Aaron Devers not qualifying. And lastly, Axel Andersson, the man who won this race last year, will not be competing today. Our pole sitter, a big surprise because it's his CRL debut. Thor Gonzalez driving a light blue number 66 sponsored by 24 Hour Fitness. Here's the field taking the green flag. Robert Klesel on the outside of row 1. Gonzalez leading them all into the turn. Klesel will try and go around the outside of Gonzalez for the lead going into turn 1. But Gonzalez has the speed and the preferred line, and the light blue 66 will lead the field up the hill into the S's. You see that black 67 car there at the bottom? That's Carl Loggins, who's also making his CRL debut. He blasts through the field in the opening lap. Gonzalez would lead the first lap, but here's Loggins on the backstretch on lap 2, taking the lead from the 66, going into the inner loop, and Loggins would run off and hide. Lap 3, Brandon Malloy and Jacob Eichholz battling for sure going into the inner loop, and they bang wheels a bit. They hang on to it, though. Eichholz with the inside line. They go into the sweeping turn 5, and Jacob will have the spot. Lap 5, Eichholz going to get past Gonzalez for second, although he doesn't do it right away. Going up into the S is going to need a little help from Malloy, and the 4 car will push the 07 past the 66. And as Eichholz settles into second, Malloy will get around Gonzalez for third spot. How long has it been since Mike Falls had a good run? The Londoner, who has just gotten around Robert Klesel and Rush McLeod to get into 6th, started this race in 18th. Of course, he said he nearly won the qualifying race, losing out to Chris Winter in the end. He's been in 2 other races this year, but he's not even been close to the front. And here he is ripping through the field to get into the points, trying to get higher and higher in the order as we progress through this 27-lap run. You see Rush McLeod in that green 71, and you're thinking, wasn't he supposed to be sponsored this week? Yes. This was the weekend that Jack Link's Beef Jerky was supposed to be in the 71 car. They had it all painted up. It was going to be black and red with a little silver on the doors. And then somebody broke into their shop and stole it. Wonders of people these days, huh? Carly Brubacher was the first driver to be smacked in the back by our own McCurley Enterprises teammate Gibson McAllister in the wildness that transpired in the opening lap of the Q race. Just a pre-Q race just a couple of days ago. She started tonight's race in 3rd spot. She's going to get passed by Falls for 5th spot, drop down into 6th. But it doesn't look like Brubacher is going to fall out of the points anytime soon. From someone rising to someone who fell, 2001 CRL Modified Division champ Kennedy Hughes' comeback will be short-lived. Chicken Soups Racing announcing that the 06 will be dismantled after this weekend to focus on Reed Weber, and Hugh really not proving that this team should stay on the charts. He qualified 21st. He's back in 24th. With John Hawks, our point leader, super rookie Garth Davidson, and last week's winner at Salem, Kurt Shelton, who is in his first race carrying Lexmark sponsorship. Lap 10, here is Falls getting around Gonzalez for 4th spot. So the Londoner continues to blow through the field at Watkins Glen this evening. Could he possibly catch Carl Loggins, whom we are going to check in on right about now. And look at his lead, it's almost 24 seconds. The guy in his very first CRL Modified Division race, and his lead is nearly a quarter of a minute. He is flying away from this field as we go through the evening. Here is Hamilton Porteau making his debut this weekend of the 01. Porteau literally won his first RLA Elite Series race in 2006 Daytona, but didn't really do much after that. However, Holex Lautenschlager Racing putting him in the 01 car after Montana Moseas voluntarily pulled aside to focus on his TM Lights ride for next year. This car will be sponsored at Grand Detour by iLaw, an illegal law firm of North Carolina. The car's been painted up. First caution comes out on lap 11. Gordon Moss in 20th. Behind Landon Rhodey. Goes into the inner loop with Salvatore Provenzano. Touches the door of the 58 and goes sliding. And that's all that happened. That's a yellow, really. That's a yellow. Here's an above shot. See, this is all that happened. I mean, really. We need a yellow out for that. I mean, come on. We almost had a real accident coming back to the caution. Kennedy Hugh and Garth Davidson side by side going into the inner loop. They touch and they both slide. Davidson going off the track, Hugh going wide, and Kurt Shelton says, I'm going to pass you both before you wreck each other. Thankfully, they did not. The restart at the end of lap 13, Carl Loggins still with the lead. Look at the bottom of the screen. You will see Mike Falls in that 40 car go to the inside of Brandon Malloy in the 4 car for 3rd. And as they go into turn 1, the number 40 moves into 3rd up behind Jacob Eichholz as Loggins slowly begins to pull away again. Lap 15. Falls continues to move on up. Here he comes out of the S's to the inside of Eichholz and put the Londoner in 2nd spot with just 13 laps to go here at the Glen. Meanwhile, Porteau continuing to move up through the field. Here's Hamilton on lap 16 getting around Thor Gonzalez for 4th spot. So the 01 blasting through the field. Second caution comes out on lap 17. Tina Lee in 21st gets spun by Provenzano going into the inner loop, and she's going to be joined in the gravel trap by John Hawks, and we'll see what happened to Hawks here. Coming into the inner loop, you'll see Lee spinning out. Hawks said he thought Lee was going to go stop, and then he just ran off and ended up in the gravel trap. Restart at the end of lap 19. Loggins still with the lead. And here is Porteau at the bottom of your screen, going to have a peek to the inside of Eichholz going into turn 1. However, he is not going to be able to get around the man who won round 5 at Carbondale just yet, as Mike Falls slowly begins to see that 67 car fading away again. 1 lap later, coming onto the back straightaway, Porteau will get around the 07. Porteau going to the inside of Eichholz, coming down the backstretch into the inner loop. Thor Gonzalez sticking his nose in there just a bit. And Porteau, will complete the pass as they go through the inner loop. Handful of laps left. We're going to show you just how big Loggins' lead has gotten. There goes Loggins. Here comes Falls. Lap 24, Chris Winter in 6th spot. Gonna have a 3-way battle here with Thor Gonzalez and Fabrizio Dalla Stella, and Winter is gonna lose out, and Gonzalez is actually gonna hang on to 6th spot. Things will get worse for Winter. 2 laps left. He's in 8th spot ahead of Alex Neshmary. They go into the inner loop. Neshmary to the inside. He touches the 03, and around goes Winter. And Winter gets stuck in the gravel trap. He would need to be pushed out. He was none too happy. Caught up to Neshmary on the cool-down lap. They banged doors, banged wheels, and then when they got out of their cars in pit lane, they had to be restrained from going after one another with their fists. All of this not overshadowing the performance of Carl Loggins, who leads the final 26 laps and literally wins his first ever CRL Modified Division race. He captures the 2010 Big Business Council of New York State Shootout at the Glen in unbelievable fashion, totally running off with this race. And speaking of great debuts, here comes Hamilton Porteau off of turn 11. He will hold off Eichholz and finish third. Falls has already finished second. This is a podium no one saw coming. Loggins, Falls, Porteau. How unbelievable is that? Heck, I bet most experts didn't even think that Loggins or Porteau or Falls would qualify for this race. Here's Reed Weber coming across to finish 12th and capture the final point. Of course, a year ago, Weber started this race in 19 and ended up finishing second. No great drive for him tonight here at Watkins Glen. But my goodness, what a story Carl Loggins turned out to be. That DC Shoes Lennard spinning donuts in the runoff area in turn 1. He has every single right to be happy, leading the final 26 laps of this 27-lap race after starting in 6th spot. Loggins just totally picked this race up and ran off with it. Of course, he gets a bonus point for leading the most laps. He also picks up the $10,000 FedEx Fastest Lap Award. He had a 1:33.103, the second fastest lap. Eichholz, a 1:35.474, so that shows you how on the rails the 67 was tonight. Top 12 in race results. Loggins with a win. Falls ends up second. A huge result for him. His first point scoring finish since Dover last year. Porteau in third. Eichholz finishing fourth. Malloy in fifth. He's going to win a race eventually. Gonzalez picking up a bonus point for winning pole. He finishes sixth. Fabrizio Dalla Stella in seventh. Alex Neshmary in eighth. He and Winter were both called to the hauler for what happened after the race. McLeod finishing ninth. Carly Brubacher scoring her first points. Klezel finishing 11th. And Reed Weber coming home in 12th. On now to the top 15 in points, and we have a new leader, Fabrizio Dalla Stella, despite being winless, to the top of the charts. John Hawk's not scoring today, now 5 points behind. Malloy now in third spot, just 11 points back of Dalla Stella. Tina Lee, pointless again. She's in fourth now. Kurt Shelton in fifth. Provenzano in sixth. Same number of points as Jen Walker, but Provenzano has the win in Phoenix in round two. Landon Rohde in eighth. Jacob Eichholz sitting in ninth. Garth Davidson sitting in 10th spot. Mike Lee sitting in 11th. In 12th, it is Robert Klezel. 13th, Rush McLeod. 14th, Reed Weber. 15th, Pierre Duval. And with the win, Carl Loggins is now 16th. Next up, we head to good old Grand Detour, the big short track for the Stanley Tools Battle of Southern Illinois.